Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting. Today is Tuesday, December the 20th, 2022. The time is now 6 p.m. The regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Trinidad will now come to order in person as well as
Recording
Zoom.
in progress.
So would you please rise for the pledge of allegiance? Ms. Overview, please lead us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, everyone who's here and listening in, I just wanted to wish everyone a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and hopefully everything will go well for you and have an enjoyable holiday season. So, have a roll call.
Sabono.
Here.
Griego.
Here.
Ogletree.
Here.
Shu.
Here.
Thurman.
Here.
Williamson.
Here.
Rico.
Here. Item 2, approval of the agenda. Anyone on council have any changes that they would like to make? Not, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
call vote please.
Sabono.
Yes.
Griego.
Yes.
Ogletree.
Yes.
Shu.
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 3, policy item and staff reports. Mr. Ruger, do you have anything to report?
Nothing's that there.
Okay. Okay, 3A, Monument Lake Resort Report from Buckley Outfitters LLC.
Hello.
Let us know what's happening with Monument Lake.
Well, we're just real busy out there, and just wanted to come and kind of give you guys a recap of what all happened this season and improvements that have been made and continuous improvements that we're currently making. So that's kind of the long and short of that. But
For the audience, if you want to state your name.
Brett McGraw
Okay.
with Buckhorn Ridge Outfitters and Monument Lake Resort. I believe that Audra got you guys a PDF, kind of just giving you a recap or a rundown of what our numbers look like this year. We're up 52% as far as retail sales and our restaurant goes, which is phenomenal. I mean, I couldn't have dreamed of it being any better than that. As far as our lodging, RV sites, and lake rentals, we're up 12% from 2021. And combined, that 24% is actually 20%. I fat fingered that one. So, but still a 20% increase from year to year. I couldn't be happier. Then you can run down the sheet and look at the itemized, basically revenue stream by revenue stream in comparison to 2021 and match it up there. So overall, we were extremely happy with the outcome of this last year. I think the improvements that we made were appreciated by the folks that were visiting, and of course we're continuing to make improvements, and that won't slow down until we feel we've got it up to the standard that you guys deserve and our guests deserve as well. So on page 2 of that, I'm just going to give you a rundown. I'll just read it off here as to what we've accomplished in 2022 and moving on to an off season of 2023 prior to the summer season. We've completed renovations on 13 cabins and as of right now 2 lodge rooms. We've completed demolition and prep work on the next 4 lodge rooms, and we'll just keep drilling down on that as we go along here. We're doing about four rooms at a time, just for time's sake, and it's a lot more organized that way. So far, we've purchased 1/3 of the materials needed for the lodge renovations, and we have 1/3 of them on order for our next wave of improvements will be coming after the first of the year. We will complete the exterior stucco and paint on the lodge, upper bar, and the restaurants in the spring. Of course, last year we We took care of all the cabins, interiors and exteriors. So, as soon as it starts to warm up, we'll get outside and get all the patchwork done and painting done. To date, we've hauled in a total of 134 semi-loads of aggregate for the roads and the campground renovations. We've transferred over 160 loads of mined aggregate into the north campgrounds. We've raised the north campground over 1.5 feet with field dirt. I don't know if you guys have seen it lately, or I'm sure you've seen it over the years, but the amount of roots and rock and exposed things that just tear the bottom out of your vehicles and make trees fall down and everything else. We're fixing that problem. So it's been a busy few months. But yeah, we've raised it 1.5 feet of field dirt. We've covered up all the tree roots for erosion prevention, and that looks real nice. Through the road building and the organizing of the campground, we've added 37 more primitive campsites to the north end of the lake. We're adding timbered campsites in the sizes of 24 by 24 or 12 by 24, depending on if it's RV camping or tent camping. And that'll basically just organize people. I think if you've seen it, and I'm sure you all have, it's, you just kind of pull in, it's just, park wherever you want and do whatever you want, and you could have, 30 people at one campsite and 10 cars, and, and that's, it's just unorganized, it creates problems. I think that we, we sacrifice money by doing that, because you'll get people that are just supposed to be there for day use, and they end up using up a camping spot because they're tagged on to a couple buddies of theirs, and those crowds just, as the summer goes along, we watch it, it's real tame in the beginning of the summer. By the end of the summer, you've got just massive parties of people that are at a single campground. And it might be great for them, but it's not good for other guests who are there with their families or their kids and things like that. And so what we're doing instead is and you'll see on the pictures that I've got, but we're putting timbers in and we're rocking these areas. So you will, inside that timbered area, you'll have a parking spot right alongside of it that'll be rocked, very, very nice and groomed. And then on the inside of it, you'll have room for a tent, picnic table, and your firebox. And that is your space. If we pull in there and we see 10 cars parked around that space, it's gonna be very easy to, to remedy that, So we're learning as we go, but we've learned a lot. And I just think it's gonna be better for the people, for our guests as the time goes on here.
Is this on the north side, on the upper part of the lake, and on the other side, are you doing both sides of the lake with
Right.
these campgrounds?
Right now, we do campgrounds on the north and the south. The north end is the larger primitive camping area, and then the south, we have some area, some spots sprinkled throughout the trees and whatnot. So we're focusing right now mainly on the north end because it needed the most help. It's rough.
How many of these areas do you plan on putting in? Just for curiosity.
Well, this area it was already in.
Yeah, we've been up there now.
So we're just improving it. We're just making it better, and by doing that, we're able to increase camping sites. So that once we're done with that end, at this point, once we're done this off season, we'll be done, with that. The only other area of the resort that we've worked on, and basically in conjunction with Gil out there is what we call the West Mountain, or the West Hill that runs down the west side of the lake. At one point, there was some camping areas up there, but I don't believe that it was ever developed very well. No drainage, and you'll see in some pictures that we've recut the roads up there, brought in a lot of dirt. We'll bring in aggregate, rock it, our drainage is good. And we'll start carving out some campsites as we go along there, but, that's still, that'll be something that we'll work on through the season. It won't be something that we'll be able to finish this winter.
Yeah, I do remember, like you're saying, on that side, the west side, years ago, there were campsites up there, but they were pretty rough.
Yeah, like ultra primitive type. Yeah. Well, and the only reason we know that is there's an old, an old cinder block outhouse up there. And every once in a while we'll come across the old metal, picnic tables that are concreted into the ground and whatnot. So you can see that at one point it was used, but just, I think, neglected and, grown up. But, so yeah, and to me, the view from here is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think it's a great untapped place for people to be able to camp eventually.
Is there an alternative when you're saying you're gonna limit the number of people that are parked at one campsite? So is there any place else on the property that these people can go and camp and then walk back down? Park and then walk back down?
Yeah, there's day parking, right? So,
Okay.
The campsites are, I feel, are designed for, small groups of people.
Right.
So if you got a large group of people that are planning on being there, we're fine, during the day and things like that, if you got a large family of people want to hang out. But the best thing they can do is rent multiple spaces.
Okay.
So, so we're not, just all have a big convoluted mess at one
I
campus.
understand what I've seen that.
And we deal, we're like 24-hour phone service, and we deal with these questions all the time, and we try to educate people that, these spaces are made for a certain number of people. If you've got 20 people in your party, then let's get 4 spaces, and you guys are basically can congregate right there, but at least it's easier for us to police them a little bit better and, not run into just a mess of people. Any other questions on that?
Is there any plans for making a larger camping unit that could hold 10, 15 people, or like a lodge type?
Well, no, we do have, so on the far north end, so I'm talking lakeside right now is where we've increased our spaces for the primitive tent camping. The only reason being is because trying to get an RV down through there or something like that would be hard. So up around the upper part of the property on the north end, we've made large RV type camping areas up there. And they're designed that way. They're designed for larger groups of people.
RV hookups and all that?
No, not on that end, not on the north end.
Okay.
On the south end, we do have all of our RV hookups, both partials and full hookups.
That north end has always been a problem, and it's good to see that you're trying to contain people, and make it directional so that people will know and, where they're supposed to park and camp, because right now it's been sporadic all over the place.
It's a tough thing to secure, and so like I said, we're learning as we go here, and if I know for a fact that if you got a bunch of little problems, they're just gonna turn into one big one, and we've not experienced any big problems. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
And if we can just kind of nip it in the bud, and that way everybody can just come out and enjoy it, and you don't have one big party of people on a 6-person site, and then a little family here next to them, or listening to loud music and drinking and weed smoking and whatever else happens. And we've dealt with it. But so we're just kind of trying to spread everything out just a little bit, and make it a cleaner, mapped area. So, and yes, there's, like I said, on the upper north end, that is an area for, if you want to get a couple RVs into a couple sites, and have 15 or 20 people, it's good good spot for it.
Are you having to like cut roads into those spots to make sure that people know that they're just not pulling across everything?
Yeah, so we just, met about it all day yesterday, and the roads are the big thing for us. You know, making sure people can get down to their campsites, so we'll have clear paths running to the east and west, and the layout of the camping area, it's kind of domed around the shape of the lake, right? So you have tiers, one down by the lake, a middle tier, and then an upper tier. And we'll have access in all of them, you know, we are building roads. And, that's another thing with our signage is we're gonna basically have road signs and of course your site signs. And then of course with the map that we'll have online, plus the map that we'll give them at check-in, they'll see exactly where they need to go and how the traffic flow is. And it should be a good, you know, it should be like driving down the street, hopefully.
I'm excited to see these improvements, I really am too.
Yeah.
It's next spring, I really am.
We're excited about it too, and we've got, I mean, I get to come in here and talk to you guys about this, but the guys that work out there are truly passionate about that place. And, I've got one guy there that he, by coincidence, he worked for my dad when I was a little boy in Garden City, Kansas. And, he was the first guy to show up at Monument Lake Resort, first night that we took it in 2021. And, we got to talking, and he came to work for me, a little bit later. And, I don't believe that he has stayed more than maybe a night off that resort since, I mean, he just lives in his RV. I mean, you've never seen anybody more passionate about that place and improving it. So he inspires me, but, he's doing a great job. So, yeah, and so again, I wanna thank you all for allowing us to be a part of it. It's truly something that will be a part of my family for the rest of my life.
I like your logos.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You know, it's good to see all the improvements that you made, and, you know, I know we're putting a lot of money into it, but you're putting it to use and
Yeah.
for its best use.
Yeah.
It's good to see.
And this is, I think that, this is gonna be a 2 or 3 year just hard push to get it where it needs to be, and then we'll just maintain it, and it's like I was telling Randy yesterday when we were looking through it, and I said, we get everything cut, we get everything widened, we get everything situated and set, and then, maybe next off season, we lay back a little bit, and just put a little lipstick on, and it's not so, financially, intensive.
Sure.
So,
Tell us a little bit about how did your caveman event turn out?
caveman event was, well, I was telling Marty here a while back, I said, I want to chalk that up to a really expensive marketing campaign.
Okay. Okay. I guess that tells us everything.
It was really good. I mean, event-wise, production-wise, atmosphere, I've not heard one single negative comment about any part of it. It was, in my opinion, I believe it was flawless as far as that goes. So I think we did a good thing there. Advertising-wise, I don't think we could have done any more. I mean, we reached, I think over 2.4 million people, and I think what it is the first year festival. People don't know what Monument Lake Resort is, They know what Red Rocks is, They don't know, Monument Lake Resort, I mean, people living in Colorado their whole lives, they're like, no, I don't, never heard of it, don't know where it's at, doesn't make any sense. But, a lot of the people that came there had never been there before, and I do believe they're gonna be coming back. Total in the gate over the weekend, we had a little over 3,000 people, which, is about 3,000 less than we had hoped for. And I mean, with 3,000 people, you didn't even know they were there. I mean, it was kind of like just a busy weekend at the resort, really. But, again, the production was incredible. Our volunteers were just a godsend. I mean, it was just they just did an awesome job, everybody involved did.
Well, you know, this past year has been difficult for people, you know, driving because of the price of gas.
Yeah,
You know, we've seen that even locally here in town, so
yeah,
it's been an issue across the board.
yeah. But, you know, are we gonna do it again? Yeah, we're gonna do it.
Another marketing.
My kids are, they're making it happen. But, no, yeah, we're gonna keep doing it, and I think that, you know, maybe we'll grow 30% this year, maybe another 30 next year, you know, we'll get towed up. We definitely won't budget for 10,000 this year. We're gonna trim that back a little bit, and, cause everything was it was a 10,000 cap production. I mean, we had massive production, you know, stage and team there, and so we're just gonna start trimming everything back. Security, we had, you know, a good friend of mine who, he plans all the security and logistics for the Super Bowl and the NFL draft and everything, and of course, I'm like, hey man, this would be a great guy to bring along, you know? He's one of my best friends, and he planned it like we're having a Super Bowl. And I'm, you know, and so whenever you start paying those bills, whenever it's all said and done, you're like, no, we didn't knock that down by about 2/3, and then we did just right, you know?
Okay.
Matter of fact, our own sheriff, you know, and EMTs, they were, you know, there was a lot of times I look around and think, you know, if we just had, you know, 3 of these guys out here all weekend long, we'd be fine. We don't need all the 37 other guys out here securing not much. So anyways, beyond that, I think Audra I'd sent her, the slides, if we can just run through them right quick.
Sure, Audra, go ahead and show us the slides.
Are you able to see them?
No,
Not yet?
We're seeing your web browser, Audra.
Still?
There you go.
There you go.
All right, so that's this is just gonna be some before and afters. This is what we're working on right now, is the lodge rooms. This is before on the blue carpet and really just the blue carpet was the hardest part of it. So you can switch. This is what they look like now.
You didn't go back to blue carpet, huh?
Now we're gonna stay, maybe next round of renovations, we'll bring the blue back, but kinda like bell bottoms. You never know. But, so yeah, that's what they look like now. We, came in and rocked fireplaces, new tile on the floors. You can go ahead, Otter. There's the old bathrooms. There's the new ones. So, I'm pretty proud of them.
Yeah.
They do a phenomenal job. These are the old cabins. There's the remodel cabins.
Oh, wow.
So same deal, rocked-in fireplaces, all new cabinetry, oven, stovetop, whole 9 yards. So. There's the new bathrooms in the cabins. All right, so here's some old shots of the north campground. You can see where all the rocks and roots are sticking up. Here's, you can go ahead, Audrey. And here's, we're in the middle of the renovation right now, but you can see where where we're bringing dirt in. The aggregate is on the top two left, from the left, slides, what it kind of looks like after the aggregate's in, but, and then down here in the bottom right corner, that's what your pads or your camping pads are gonna look like now.
very nice.
Timbered in, so. Here's some shots of the roads before. Now, on average, we widen the roads at the resort anywhere from 12 to 25 feet all the way around the lake.
Oh, wow.
So that's a before shot. This is kind of just a progressive, I've got a maintainer out there, We just dug everything in, pulled everything to the middle. It's kind of a, progress being made. And there's the finished product top. This big picture here on, that's with the the road base and the rock on it. So it's very much nicer. Here's the west mountain, or the west hill that I was talking about. It's, originally just grown over and kind of been neglected, and whatever was there was not anymore. Go ahead, Audra. That's what it looks like now. So we've at least got our roads cut through, and, like I said, as we go along, we'll start cutting back some primitive sites into there. I would say you'd probably maybe get another 50 sites up there, as we move along, but we're just taking baby steps here. But anyways, we did get the roads cut, and they're very nice up through there. Here's the hatchery. For some reason, I couldn't find any before pictures that I had taken, but basically the grass was growing up in the middle of the ponds and all down through the spillways, probably 12 feet. And this is just some aggressive pictures where we started doing the cleaning on them. Another one, just where we were cleaning out the spillways and starting to get them cleaned up. Go ahead. And that's what it looks like today. So, hold water again and be pretty. Go ahead, Audrey. Okay, down in the field, there's an underground river running under the field. It's, we started working on it because there was so much water in that area that you couldn't even walk down it. At all times, all the water from the resort would run down and that field would catch it. We did not know those. We had the dig safe come out, they located everything for us. And we started digging because it wasn't making sense. Even when we weren't getting any rain, it was still extremely wet. And so.
It's always green.
Huh?
It's always been green down
I
there.
know. Well, we were digging out there one day, and Randy took a bite of dirt out, and he thought maybe he was going to drain the lake. I mean, the water come up out of the ground that, like, you would not believe. And so we called Gil. He come down there, and he said, "Man," he goes, "I'll tell you what," because I think you found the problem. So basically, we went ahead and started trenching everything. We put in a French drain, which now with perforated pipe, which now catches all that water and pushes it straight to the spillways. And that field is dry as a bone. I mean, not dry as a bone. It'll still grow grass. It'll still get green, but it's just not. You're not shin deep in mud and muck whenever you're in it. So that's another thing that we did there. Oh, that's it now. What it looks like. So, go ahead, Audra. This is just, we fenced it as well. Put a nice wood rail fence around it, just kind of fit the decor of the resort. Go ahead. That's the fence. There's the old dock that we kind of had adopted when we got there. And next slide, there's the new docks. And the docks are phenomenal. I mean, they're beautiful, they're built well, and people really got to enjoy them this year, finally. Oh, and there's Caveman. So, there's that, and then one more shot of that, and I think that's it.
Yeah, Castle's front.
All right, so that's it.
Well, Brett, I was gonna say congratulations, and I believe that, this is a partnership that I think we will hopefully continue to look forward in the future, because you're doing a phenomenal job up there, and thank you for, we can see that the money that we're putting forward is being used properly,
Absolutely.
making the resort what it can be.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again for letting me be a part of it. You guys have been, incredible to work with too, so we really appreciate it.
Any other questions for him? No? Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
What do your daughters have to say?
Oh, we're so
That-
proud.
This is the quietest they've been for 2 days, I can tell you that right now.
He's not wrong.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, item 3B, DOLA 1304 Transformational Affordable Housing Homeownership and Workforce Housing Grant Program. Mr. Yerman, is he here or is he?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Great. I apologize for not being there tonight. This update is kind of coming rather quick. It was not anticipated, but as the council knows, with the Housing Now program, we were looking at every opportunity we could to leverage your money to do grants to further our progress in providing much needed affordable housing to the community. And I'm calling it the wrong thing in my staff report. It's actually called the Transformational Affordable Housing Grant. Was originally released, I think, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And the first round of applications was 22 days later on December 10th. And the actual applications are due at the end of this month for the first round. This program is rather unique, and Fallon states here to kind of chime in and provide some feedback, but this is a truly unique program because it provides up to $10 million of funding for a project with a 75% match. 138 million, I'm probably wrong with the numbers, Fallon, so please correct me. I believe it's targeted for rural resort, or 69 of that 138 million was targeted for rural resort communities. In the first 22 days, LOI was issued. The state received 55, I believe, applications, so less than 22 days. So to say that this grant is going to be competitive is probably an understatement, but we do feel like we want to pursue this and tell you a little bit more. As the council knows, with the Housing Now program, we created a unique incentive fund that allows private property owners to come to the city and to assist. That is not the traditional way in traditional housing projects that the state funds. And so we did look at also 1271, which was a grant prior to this, and submitting, and the feedback we received from the state, while they really admire and thought the Housing Now program is great for what we're being able to do with private-public partnerships, they really didn't fit the mold of what they were looking for actual grant programs for about 9 of the 11 projects, because they were looking at more permanent deed-restricted properties with price appreciation caps, and also with a more of a nonprofit housing authority model. However, we did find that we had 2 projects that actually fit that mold, and we want to kind of work with the council on pursuing some additional letters of support as these 2 applications move forward. So it's the 12 units, the Depot townhomes, sorry, I'm messing up the Depot lots on Elm, the 12 units that are for sale. They are going to have a land trust model, which is actually, with this grant being called transformative, that land trust model is actually really huge for the town, because they're bringing in capacity to monitor deed restrictions, and they're a really well-established organization that's assisting with that. That's something that, taking on a full full-fledged affordable housing program and taking on the administration and the staffing. We kind of broached that subject with the council and the county commissioners at one point, and there wasn't a whole lot of momentum, and I can understand why, because of the long-term costs associated with that. So bringing in the elevation land trust is certainly one reason that project, in my opinion, is transformational, not just for Trinidad, but also getting them down in the region. I know there's been other counties that have discussed projects with elevation land trusts. Secondarily, the Holy Trinity with the Mount Carmel Wellness Center being a nonprofit, they would also qualify. So those are the two projects that we're looking at potentially pursuing. Fallon, I think I'll turn it over to you to kind of talk a little bit about kind of how unique this program is, and then we can talk about next steps on project support.
Absolutely. Caroline Miller from the Division of Housing. So, as Michael touched on, this is a unique funding opportunity. I apologize, getting over a cold. Up to $10 million is unheard of for most of our funding opportunities. It is standard that we set a per door limit on most of our funding, which is in the form of gap funding. We kind of come in at the end of a project and fill the remaining gap that is needed to complete a financial stack. So this is nothing like our traditional funding, and we will fund up to 75% of the project, up to $10 million. All that is required is a 25% match from other non-state sources that can be local ARPA dollars. So these funds are coming from ARPA, but other ARPA dollars can go in as long as they are not state ARPA and they are local ARPA funds. Any other match, owner equity, debt, a bank loan, any of those can be used as the 25% match. In addition to that, we're allowing funding of projects that are at much higher AMI limits than we traditionally serve. So our traditional gap funding and other funding has always been kind of at that 60% AMI or below of AMI. And for rural communities, for this funding source for rental and home ownership is at 140% AMI or below. So any project that is reaching 140% AMI or below can potentially request these funds. They are grant funds, they are not loan funds. So they will go into the project and not have to be repaid, which is also a huge plus. And I am happy to take any questions or concerns or anything that the council would like to know further on the project. There is a NOFA out that gives detailed information, but if you guys have anything off the top of your head that you would like to know, please feel free to ask.
Questions from council?
I have one question. Total units should be 114. It adds up to 114, not 113.
Oh, my staff report?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think I probably didn't add in the Sherman department.
Okay. Other questions?
Oh, and I should add, I guess, that the Elevation Community Land Trust project, I have already opened up the application system to them, and they are in application process with us.
So this funding is highly competitive from what Michael is saying, correct?
Yes, so we actually ended up with, I believe it was actually 57 LOIs, and that was just for our very first round, which opened up December 10th. We are taking LOIs the 10th of every month going forward until the funds are fully expended. Of those 57, of course, we do not plan that all 57 will actually be filling out applications. A lot of those projects may be more concepts and not actual shovel ready and have all the required documents for an application. But we do plan on these grant funds being expended rather quickly.
What's interesting is the two projects that we're looking at here, you're saying that the funding will fund 75% with a 25 match. So it sounds like the owner equity of that 25% of the owners will probably be able to cover that so that they can move that forward. That's what it sounds like to me, correct?
It is possible, but something else that, just so you're aware, that we are looking at, as we do with all of our funding applications, is a diverse financial stack, that there is local support. We always require local support. And also, we will be assessing whether the projects can withstand any other debt, whether that be a soft pay debt with the city or county, or a hard pay debt with a bank. And we would assess that in our underwriting, and they could potentially get a lesser award than what they're requesting if they can't handle other debts.
Okay. So Michael, you're working currently with the two potential project owners at this time?
That is correct. And so tonight on your dais, I believe you see the first letter of support.
Right.
For the depot locks. Their project, in particular, because it's a for sale model, that debt service and the sale of the properties is adding quite a bit of equity. So I don't know, I think they're at a 60-40 match for what they're requesting as far as state funds. And they have already committed to the 150 plus tap fees from the Housing Now program. So they're not potentially asking for any additional assistance moving forward. And tonight, I think what's really important, as Fallon has pointed out, their application is due December 31st. We originally had planned on talking about kind of letters of support tonight and then bringing back formal letters on the 3rd, so I apologize, but because of application deadlines, we're looking to actually get that letter of support for the depots off so that they don't miss the application deadline and stay up in the front of the initial request. The Housing Now funds, like Fallon pointed out, are able to be used as a match, count towards their match, and certainly also provide the state support that's coming from the city, not just as a letter of support, but also financial support, which is substantial. So that, again, we'll be working with them, the applicant, providing whatever kind of documentation I can also assist with to really kind of talk to the state about how this is transformational. So that's that project tonight. And I'm going to pause there to allow the council to ask any questions about the depot before I get into the whole retreat.
Any other questions on the depot project?
Michael, was this part of the incentive there? Weren't they supposed to build some apartments there? So we're not using our incentive program, this will be separate from it?
No, we are using the Housing Now incentive.
So that'll take care of the 25%?
They're in really good shape, as well as not just to match potential grant dollars. As Val was talking, that 25% can come in the form of a bunch of different things, debt, a bank loan, etc. They're selling the units at the time of construction, so the sales of those units is actually counted toward a majority of their match. So they're using the gap financing from Andola to buy down the price points and make those units desirable, which I think is a great thing. So they're looking healthy, and again, they're going to be coming into Andola at a much higher match than the 25%. I believe it's 40 to almost 50%. It's a 50-50 match. So they're with the Housing Now incentive, they're in really good shape. So that's why tonight you'll see that letter. There was a couple other requirements in the application. Luckily, through what we did to get those applications in front of the council for all the projects, we also held a public hearing on the 29th where the applicant came and spoke before the council and presented the project publicly. So we also were able to check the box there, so you'll see that letter calling out that date. So we're we were able to, I think they're gonna be able to advance their application and have a fully submitted application on the 31st with this letter.
Before he presented us with a letter of funding support. I'm not sure if you guys had an opportunity to look at it, have any issues with it. We don't have it as an agenda item for approval. Is that going to be a problem, do you think, or can we just move forward with this?
Mayor, we can move forward. We just were looking for consent from the council to move forward with the letter tonight.
Okay.
And it is part of the presentation, so.
Does council feel like their consent is okay, moving forward with it?
Yeah.
I think so. Okay.
Great, thank
So
you.
I'll just have to sign, try before the night's over with.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Next time you come down here and want money, make sure you're down here personally. Yeah, don't give me that. I heard that before.
I'll be down there next
Okay.
time. This wasn't a plan, this was a little unplanned on my part. But given the urgency of the applications, I thought that was great. But
Steve,
I'm gonna be there but moving on to the next project, so Holy Trinity, I think is a whole different project as it relates to the Housing Now program and also kind of the capital stacks. Holy Trinity is on your staff report there, you have a 3.5 number. That was just for the 10 units. The total project cost is somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 million. And so they have a much higher kind of 25% match that is needed. Honestly, in discussions with the project group, we were kind of really trying to figure out how we were going to get to the point where the gap financing made sense. We had been doing some really hard math and looking at alternative funding sources. This grant for that project actually makes it shovel ready. And it makes the numbers and the math work. Clearly, it's a much higher match and it's well above the 10 million that they're eligible for. So there's an additional 4 million that's going to have to also somehow be accounted for through debt service. But those numbers start to make a lot more sense now with an opportunity like this. Their application was not ready for the LOI on December 10th because they have quite a bit of, the applications require quite a bit. But we are anticipating and working diligently with the unit group to have a LOI ready for January 10th for the final submittal of the 31st. There's some additional things that they need to do as far as land use approvals that I don't want to get into tonight with the council because you read it with the full body. But they are actively working towards making sure they have dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's so that they can formally submit on the 31st. What I think will happen between now and then is that Saruder and I have scheduled a meeting to talk about the different sources of funding that they might be asking for. For instance, the EPA cleanup dollars and the assessment dollars are one form that is a grant award from the EPA. That's not actual city dollars, but the city can assist in that. And what we'd like to do on, I believe, is January 3rd, if I'm looking at the dates correctly. By January 3rd, I intend to be down there and to present a formal kind of outline of the city's commitment to this project. They may be coming, again, they're working through their debt services, and et cetera. They could be coming in with an additional ask of funding. I know the EPA funding is certainly on the table, so that could potentially bump up their federal assistance from the city as well. So I think there's some things that we still need to flesh out, but we are currently and actively really working towards that. What I will say on that project in particular, since the day I set foot in the city and I walked through that building, I knew that particular project was going to be a massive undertaking and a massive work, given the asbestos and lead paint that's in the building, and beyond that, just the size of the project. It's serendipitous that this grant and the Housing Now program have kind of coincided and collided together. put us in a position that we're even able to consider moving relatively quickly to do this. So I'm very hopeful, and we're working really hard. I'll be honest, it's a real tough lift without a funder like Dola coming into the system.
Okay, Ms. Grego has a question for you.
So,
Sure.
Michael, on the Links Apartment Edition, you show $150,000 in incentive funds for 10 units. Is that supposed to be 250?
No, that one, the Links apartment on my staff report, that one, remember, is new units, so the new units were only eligible for 15,000 a unit. And then the reason for that was we anticipated that new units would also be receiving a $10,000 tap fee incentive as well. So they really are receiving, when you add in the tap fees. But again, the city doesn't determine tap fees until they get building permits. But if you look at the math, I'm anticipating that of the $2 million we have left, there's approximately $500,000 remaining, which would be about 20 more units that we could add to the program.
Okay.
Mr. Ruger, I signed this, is that good enough, or is it going to be an original copy? I need that.
No, that's good enough.
I can put that down, too. Okay, we're good to go.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Beyond item 4, petitions or communications, oral or written. Mr. Ruger, mentioned to you, and I didn't see it in our copy, that someone's going to do a presentation. Did you get that?
I
in
did
place?
check with Audra on that. Audra, do you know what happened on that?
The Arts Commission chair and I'm not certain the position of the other party. They're in the audience to present this evening. You were asking about their budget request, so they are present. I didn't know if you wanted them to address now or during that agenda item.
We don't have it on agenda item, but I think that would it be best to just do it now? Probably.
They're actually under the third quarter marijuana resolution.
Yeah.
Okay, just
Part of
do
that.
it at that point? Okay,
Yep.
we can redo it then, all right. Okay,
you,
good. We didn't have anybody signed up? Okay. Item 5, consent agenda approval item 5A, approval of the regular meeting minutes of December 6, 2022, and special meeting minutes of December 12, 2022. Item B, reappointment of Elizabeth Kelly and Ms. Jean DeLisio to the Historic Preservation Commission. Item C, approval of the bills for $2,482,988.24. Item D, approval of payroll December the 10th, 2022 through December the 23rd, 2022 in the amount of $418,255.97. Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Call vote, please.
DeBono,
Yes.
Griego,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Staying on 5A and yes on the remainder.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 6, public hearings. 6A, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance amending Article 13, Chapter 14 to adjust cultivation fees due to the City of Trinidad on cultivated retail marijuana from average market rate to contract price between unaffiliated marijuana businesses. Hearing is now open. Ms. Garrett?
Mayor and City Council, if you'll recall from the last City Council meeting, I presented that the purpose behind this ordinance is to allow the contract rate to be the amount that our 5% fee is based upon, rather than the average market rate when the wholesaler is transferring to a retailer and it's an unaffiliated business. So for instance, unaffiliated, meaning they don't have a store or center that they're transferring to. For instance, we have a couple of them locally that transfer to other locations up north, and those businesses are not at all affiliated with that marijuana grow. And so it's more equitable for them to be able to use that actual contract rate rather than a base, or a rate that the state has determined, would be the fair market rate for that marijuana transfer.
Okay. Council have any questions?
No.
Okay. Audra, does the market rate change periodically? Or
It
is that
changes every quarter.
quarter? Okay. So, have you been keeping track of that market rate change? Has it been going up? Has it been going down? Is it stable? Do you know?
I haven't looked at it since we adjusted our rates in August. Cheryl's probably had 1, maybe 2 months where we've received remittances based on that rate. So we haven't looked back at the average market rate, obviously because the rest of the wholesalers will be paying against that rate. It will be adjusted with respect to our tax filing forms every quarter by our finance director.
Okay. And currently, what is the contract price? Do you know, or is that set by the individual proprietor?
That's set by the entity.
Okay. I think it would be good, maybe move forward as we see that market rate change, because that kind of tells us what direction this thing is going. Is it going up, down, or is it stabilizing? What's happening with that? I think it would be good to, yeah, no, not table it, but I just for information down the road for us to have. I think it'd be good to have. It'd be good to have information in back pocket. That way we can see what's happening within the market. Okay. Anyone listening in or in the audience wants to speak for or against the ordinance amendment? Hearing none. Hearing is closed. Item 6A1, second reading of an ordinance amending Article 13, Chapter 14 to adjust cultivation fees to the City of Trinidad on cultivated retail marijuana from average market rate to contract price between unaffiliated marijuana business. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second? Second. Any further discussion? Call a vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego? Yes. Ogletree? Yes. Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 6B, another public hearing for consideration of an ordinance amending the City of Trinidad's annual budget for the fiscal year beginning on 1/1/22 and ending 12/31/2022. The change has gone from $56,943,915 to $66,169,337. Hearing is now open. Ms. Navarette, what do you have to offer?
Mayor and council, there have been no changes from the first reading to the second reading. And this is an amendment to increase our budget to recognize the changes that were experienced throughout fiscal year 2022.
Okay. Council, have any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
On section 6, on the budget amendment for the tourism fund, so even though the line items have changed, Cheryl, the tourism fund is still within their budget, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So the tourism fund has above and beyond reserves that they probably
Okay.
need to start tapping into.
Okay,
So they are expending more than they are earning in fiscal year 2022, but that's because they want to tap into the reserves.
okay, all right.
One of the reasons for that, I think I explained a while back, is that, their reserve fund is quite high, and they're able to, use some of that funding to do some other things.
Right, and the types of items that they're budgeting are items that are one-time expenses, so they're not building something into the budget that's gonna eat away at the reserves because it's operational. It's machinery and equipment or advertising.
I just needed a clarification for myself because the tourism tax is separate. Oh, yeah,
Right.
okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like a question that you brought up about having to, going into a lean year, taking some of that money and use it for additional marketing. I think that was part of the reason behind that too. Okay, anyone in the audience or listening in, wants to speak for or against the ordinance amendment? Hearing none. Hearing's closed. Item 6B1, second reading of an ordinance amending the City of Trinidad's annual budget for fiscal year beginning on 1/1/22 and ending 12/31/22. And that change is from $56,943,915 to $66,169,337. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Any further discussion? Call the vote, please.
DeBona?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 7, unfinished business, we have none. Item 8, miscellaneous business. 8A, resolution authorizing expenditure of marijuana revenue by the City of Trinidad third quarter 2022. And why don't you go ahead and give us, and then we'll bring, I think it was Arts and Culture Board? Okay.
Mayor and council, third quarter yielded $644,457 to be allocated amongst the rates established by council. 65% is allocated to city project or purchases, which totals $321,397. 30% is allocated to reserves, which is $148,337. 4% allocated to incentives, $19,778, and outside agency funding, 1% at $4,945, for a total allocation of, or expense of, $494,457, with the remaining $150,000 committed to general fund for ongoing commitments.
Okay. Would somebody who is here from the Arts and Culture come forward? And the reason why we tabled that last time was because over the last couple of times that quarters where we've had marijuana funding, we've asked people to come forward during the work session to give us their idea of what they want to do with the money, and that's the reason why we tabled it. We're asking you to give us your information tonight, so please.
Sure. Well, we were under the impression that you all had questions about the budget that we had. The budget, the total budget that we're asking for is basically the same as what we had from last year. And there are several items that are bringing forward because we didn't have a chance to actually get those projects underway. They're small projects, and I assume you all have some questions about some of the items that were on there. That's why they're here.
Okay.
So.
Well,
I
give us,
would just like to say that we were cleaning up past projects that, for what reasons, didn't get finished. Well, we have, and we still have on this one, several clean up projects that maybe like the Riverwalk, murals, and the one at, I think our hard one is the one at Kid Carson Park, where the mural, the long walk, is being ruined because it needs some overhang, and the water has just been running through. It's being painted on wood, and if we don't get it done soon, it's going to disappear. And it's beautiful there at Kit Carson Park, and it just needs a little work. And that's the kind of project we have. Fixed the murals under commercial bridge and this kind of stuff is, I'd say, almost all of our projects for the next year. And we also we want another, PFD and
What we were doing is, we would like to start creating RFPs for local artists to do stuff. And we had allocated a $10,000 item. We don't have the item, the actual, what we're gonna do. But we figured that would be enough funds to be able to, go out and solicit some bids and stuff from the local artists to fund it. And we were hoping that maybe we could do a collaboration with maybe Space to Create or the Creative District or something like that. We're thinking about a kinetic type sculpture or mobile or something like that goes in the top of the Space to Create, so that it would just, because there's a lot of room up there. or we could have, a kinetic sculpture along the river walk or something like that. But most of these budgets, they're flexible, let's put it that way, they're a little bit more flexible, because we don't have the bids or anything yet. But we need to have some allocation of funding before we can even put out the RFP. So I don't know if that's, helping anybody.
It is, and actually, that's the type of information that we look forward to do when you do a presentation, so that we know what your plans are, and, going forward for 2023. So.
Right.
Let's see if council have any questions.
If you have any questions about the line items, we'd be more than happy. Most of them are very small amounts.
Yeah.
We're trying to put the OXO, the blue thing,
one.
we need to put that in a permanent spot. We need to we're renovating the mural underneath the bridges because it's just falling apart now. And that's in collaboration with, I think, the city, actually, is it the police department or something? Yeah, they were helping us with the graffiti and things like that. We have plaques that we still need to put up for all the artwork. We've got the plaques, we just haven't had the chance to actually put them up. And so the funds that we had last year, I don't believe they carry over, so we've been trying to do there's about 3 projects here that's what we need to do. So.
And if you didn't know about the roses here on your grounds, don't ask me. Ask Karen Wolf. That has been a nightmare because it's one of those things you think is going to take like that. Now it's been 3 years.
Okay.
And the other thing that I thought was interesting is we wanted to put maybe a wildlife art piece on the Riverwalk. Now that it's been renovated, my gosh, they've done so much stuff down there. It would be nice to be able to put something in. We do have a design that was done by the artist that did the dog park statue that we could use, or we could put an RFP or whatever to get some bids for this. But we would like to try to get input from the local artists and have the funding to be able to do those things. So if you have any other questions.
Any other questions?
When's our Parks Department take care of that Kit Carson part, with the overhead?
Yeah, I think
That way we have to come out, the wings have to come out of their funding.
They
Should be
have
taken.
actually gone out and looked at it
Yeah.
and said that's what they wanted to do. They just haven't been able to find the time or anything to do it. It's just that that is a particularly special piece because it was done by Native American youth. And we you don't want to mess with it too much because it's such an original piece. But because of the fact that there's a place up there that the water gets to it, and it's starting to really deteriorate on the top of it, so we don't want to get any worse.
And we've had promises of it getting done. It's just, they haven't been done because there's other things that are in front of them.
So anyway, that's what our budget's about.
Any other questions?
And I think you have, some money in the budget to redo the, public art walk.
Oh, yeah, that's all,
Signage.
yeah, well, we've already done the one renovation, but that's an ongoing project, so it's gonna have to be, the brochures are gonna have to be redone at certain points so that we're up to date with all that kind of thing.
And we've also been having tremendous trouble finding someone to fix those murals. Who can do it?
Have you, the people that did the mural at the Waterworks building,
We asked them and
We asked
they
them.
can't do
Really?
it, yeah.
what about the person that just did that large mural?
Over here at the
Yeah.
Olive Commercial?
Yes,
Yeah.
you might,
Yeah, we haven't, I think we have an artist that said that they would help out with it. And I think once we get to the point where we're gonna do it, we can find some others to help with it. It's just a matter of the renovation. They don't have to create anything. They just wanna make sure that it's preserved, because it's a beautiful,
And I would like to thank the city, the police department, for donating these things. So we don't have to warm water.
But we would like to have maybe one more piece. We had on master plan that has tried to push forward at least maybe one piece a year or something like that, or at least get it in the works, to have another piece of public art that goes on the public display.
okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I have
So-
a question.
Go.
Mr. Ritter, how do we differentiate what is a board or commission's responsibility versus what the city's responsibility is on these maintenance issues?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's a really good question. A lot of the maintenance issues come up in this process, and that's how we are notified about them and identify them. And we definitely support the process where boards and commissions come to us with this and then request marijuana money to get it taken care of. So we're all kind of working together on these things. Unfortunately, our parks crews are probably not out there looking at art and seeing if there's an overhang issue. So we do rely on people who kind of own those projects to let us know.
Okay. But shouldn't it come out of like the park and rec?
It's, this is something that's germane to the actual piece of art, to protect
Okay.
that piece of artwork,
see.
so it is appropriate for it to come out of arts and culture.
Thank you.
So I'll entertain a motion for the resolution authorizing expenditure of marijuana revenue received by the city of Trinidad the third quarter of 2022. Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Call a vote, please.
DeBona,
You stepped out.
stepped out.
Sorry.
I've been waiting.
You could go down.
Call the rest.
Call the rest.
Yeah, go.
Griego,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes.
Wait for him to come in so he can
There he is.
Hurry, Eli, we're waiting for your vote.
Waiting for this vote on the resolution.
Yes.
For the authorizing the expenditure of marijuana revenue.
Yes.
Very traumatic.
Okay. Item 8B, subdivision improvement agreement between the city of Trinidad and PLP LLC. Entertain motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Ms. Hall? And Mr. Peters, you might as well come up.
City Council, Mayor, and staff. As you know, we've come up in the previous months and brought you the preliminary plat for Mr. Peters in his 50-so acres of land. And we've done some improvements since then, and one of them is the subdivision improvement agreement. And basically, this agreement states that since we're not at a place where we can confirm the total development of this project, we want to make sure that this agreement is in place so development can continue, like infrastructure for the 2 parcels below. We want to make sure that infrastructure like sidewalks is included in this. So once this development of these properties do go forward, we have this agreement in place, and it ensures that the proper procedures for code requirements are met.
Anything else, Dad? Ms. Peters? Nothing? Nothing? Okay. Council, have any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
On potential motions for planning and zoning, it's on item 3. Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission finds that the major subdivision application does not substantially meet the final plat review criteria pursuant to Trinidad Municipal Code and recommends denial. Can you explain that, please?
This is in the staff report at the beginning, or the
It
agreement?
is on page 9. Is that it's just stating that we have options.
Yes, those are yes, no,
That's all it
or
is, is an
denial.
option.
Okay.
That's just an option.
Options.
That's part of the option.
Yes.
That's what I
All
thought.
right, it's not a denial,
Right.
it's just that we have
That
that.
have
Okay.
options
Okay,
as
got it.
city council.
Okay, I don't have any questions.
Any other questions?
And I'm glad that you put this together. It addresses the concerns that I had earlier.
This, yeah. Okay. The question that I had is, I read that this is on your critical statement, the area that you're allowing for access, it's now 15 feet, but in that critical statement, it said 20 feet. I was wondering, which one is it actually? Is it 20 feet or 15 foot, the access along the road
I
on?
think it begins at 15, but it ends up at 20.
Okay,
It does increase a little bit as you go up Garfield.
okay. I was just kind of wondering, because it had both, one area had 20, and the other side had
Yeah.
15 feet, so I was just kind of wondering. I know
I
big.
didn't know it changed.
That's okay.
I thought it was cool.
Okay. Maybe I read that. Any other questions? Okay. Call vote, please.
DeBona?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 8C, consideration of final subdivision plat filed by PLP LLC for the PLP LLC subdivision, formerly titled the Tepito subdivision. Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. The discussion. Struger, anything? Nothing?
sir.
Nothing? Call vote, please.
DeBona?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yep.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Good to see that you're moving on something up there. Be nice to see something up there. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to item D. 8D is fire union openers. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion, Ms. Valencic. You're up.
Specifically, have Mr. Luger on there. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we're here finally to talk about union negotiations. They were running a little bit late this year due to the fact that Mr. Luger didn't join us until October. So we're a little bit behind schedule, but we're getting there. So fire. You saw the sheet that what their proposals were, and we are, we're still in a little bit of a discussion with them moving forward for wages. They wanted a bit more of a cost of living increase than what the budget is able to handle, so we're still, they've agreed to the 3% increase. However, we are working out to see if the budget allows us to allow for any extra funding or for wages for them for certifications. The fire department, the city of Trinidad should be very proud of their fire department because we have an excellent fire department. Our guys are certified probably better than most fire departments up north. So we have a very well-trained fire department ready for just about everything. So, and with the chief that we brought on board, he's in making sure, he's even kind of making sure those certifications are spread out, so not everybody's just certified in one particular area. So we like to be able to recognize that. We're just trying to figure out how to do that. That's fair and equitable across the board. So that's what we're working on right now. But other than that, we just had some contract language issues to iron out, and I think we're good.
Yeah. Questions? Yep. Good. Mr. Ruger, do you have anything to add?
No, Ms. Lynch has covered it very well.
Okay.
But I do want to echo that we do have such a great fire department, and we're very proud of the work they're doing.
Well, like I said, just hopefully that maybe some revenues will increase so that, maybe we can add to it. What's the time frame on that you might be looking?
For providing increases?
Yes.
So right now, we're exploring if we have capacity in our current budget to help assist paying for some of the certifications. But we also, for all three unions, but I'll speak to fire, we're hoping that over the next 6 months, we see revenues better, and that we might be able to do a mid-year pay adjustment as well.
All right, okay. Call vote, please.
DeBona?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item C, police union reopeners. Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Mr. Lanchich, anything to add to that?
Just simply that this is, the fire department approached us this year with an attempt to try to get them on a steps proposal. And we're excited about it because what we have for our wages, we recognize longevity, we recognize certifications, and it's just kind of difficult to be transparent and easily explain how you have gotten to the wage that you're at. It's very difficult. So this is exciting for us. We were thrilled to see them come forward with this step proposal. Unfortunately, it's a little bit more than what we can do this year, so we're trying to adjust their wages and get them so they're in the right step, so that when we're able to put them where they should be, it's a quick, easy slide over to where they should be. So, and again, we have a great police department. So we have some great officers there. We've got some exciting, because we have new officers that are turning out to be excellent. So we're fairly staffed. Well, we might be down one now, but this is the closest we've been in a long time. So our police department is excelling right now too. We have some great officers, so it's exciting. And our
Questions?
public safety is there.
Questions for police officers? They, I guess what they've done is they've given you a list of proposal or steps.
Yes,
that- yeah.
yes, and it's gonna be nice for those officers. It's really going to pay them fairly and what they deserve to be paid.
What you might
So-
do is, on a separate note, just get us a list of those steps that they're.
Oh, sure.
I think it'd be interesting just to see what those steps are
Sure.
that they're looking at, so I think it'd be good.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
Okay.
We'll do that.
There's no further questions, call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree? Yes. Shu?
Yep.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item F, general service union reopeners, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
again,
Okay, so, general services, they came forward with a couple of proposals that management wasn't prepared to do. One of them was for comp time, what we call comp time, rather than getting paid for their overtime, they like to comp those hours. They wanted to be able, right now the way it's written in the contract, you have to use your comp time first before you're allowed to use vacation to get that off of the books. They asked if they could swap that. We're not really ready to do that. We would prefer that they use their comp time first. And the other one was, we're having a little issue with supervisors, foremen being allowed to be in the union. So we're not ready to allow that either. So they all agreed to all of that. I think the only thing we still have on the table with them is their request to allow to have the Juneteenth as a recognized holiday. That's kind of a mixed bag out there. I don't know what the percentage is. There's a lot of communities that are doing it, a lot that aren't. So that was their request. So we thought we would just let you guys decide because
questions?
I don't know about that.
Is Juneteenth even on the calendar?
Mayor, Council, for Juneteenth, what we will do is do some benchmarking so we can get a report of what other communities are doing and bring some options for your consideration at a future meeting.
Okay. Any other questions? You know, I agree with your idea that supervisors not be in the union. I never have thought that that's a good idea. Because it puts them in the same category as employees and their employees.
Right.
So, any further questions? Call vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree? Yes. Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item G, resolution committing reserve funds held by the city of Trinidad in the amount of $8,300,000. Entertain a motion. So moved. Second?
Yeah.
Needs to be second.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Ms. Navarette?
Mayor, council members, this resolution is, it follows up what we discussed at the previous work session, $8.3 million. If you'll recall, we decommitted $3 million because we did transfer that funding into the capital improvements fund for the First Street project. And then we reassigned the pool commitment of $1.2 million to Central Park facilities. And finally, broadband infrastructure was added to the mix of $1,030,535, and this was for the ARPA funding that was received earlier this year. So the total for commitment is $8.3 million.
Okay. Questions from council?
I have not a question, but a statement. You and I just talked about it. On the committed funds of $809,000 for exit 14. Aaron, were you here for that work session when we talked about committed funds?
I don't believe so.
No, you are.
That happened in December, was that?
I would really like to take that item off. I don't know how I could do that, but I really want more discussion on that.
Well, like I mentioned earlier,
Yes.
we can always reassign that if necessary. That's always reassignable. This just right now just is to approving that to move forward with it. Mr. Ruger, do you have any? And she's worried about that because we had a discussion concerning the exit 14 because that's where this funding is going to go forward to and toward. And she just, I'm not sure what her major concerns are. My recommendation is that she get with you for good clarification. I try to explain it as best as I could. And like I said, if something happens that we need to recommit, we can always do that.
Yeah, you're right, Mayor. We can always recommit the money. Right now, it fits in with balancing the budget and being allocated for that project.
We're making a statement that we're committing these funds to that project, and I want to make sure that we're not making a statement that we're gonna do that, and somewhere down the line, that doesn't happen. I think Ms. Ogletree deserves the benefit of what we were talking about, and I would really like consensus of council as to if that is the direction we want.
Okay. And that discussion isn't advertised for tonight's meeting as part of this.
No, I understand
What we
that.
can, and what we can do, Councilor, is we will bring this back at maybe your first work session in January.
Would you
and then
please?
you can have that discussion at that time. And then for now, we'll leave it in the committed funds where it's at, just to balance the budget and get the budget adopted. But you can have that discussion in the near future.
I would, thank you so much.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, call the vote, please.
DeBona,
Yes.
Griego,
Yes.
Ogletree. Yes. Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item H, first reading of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Trinidad, Colorado, amending 12-12 of Article 2 of Chapter 12 of the Code of the City of Trinidad for the purpose of regulation, customer-owned generation systems, setting a hearing date for consideration of said ordinance to 6 p.m. on January the 3rd, 2023. Yeah, need someone to introduce?
I'll introduce.
Need a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Spiegel?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So before you, what you have is a draft ordinance that, I shouldn't say draft, an ordinance that Audra worked very hard on to put this together. The ordinance has been developed to align with ARPA policies, so we've kind of checked it with that. Currently, we have 10 customers, 4 of which began in 2003. We've had 6 applications since 2021, so the need for, I shouldn't say the need, but the want for customers wanting solar energy or to utilize solar energy has been quite abundant. So staff felt the need that we need to come up with policies and procedures to implement the program. With that, we need an ordinance in place, so that's what you have before you. The ordinance aligns, like I said, with ARPA policy, and we just need to have something developed so it's more consistent on how we're billing our solar customers. There's a little bit of I don't want to say a trick, but a little tricky part of the ordinance on the billing part. And it has to do with ARPA, what they call an avoided cost rate. So I won't get into too much detail on any of that, but we just really need some consistency how we're going to move forward with solar.
Will you be able to give us that information when we do have our hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
At this point, any questions for me?
I have a question.
Of course.
On the existing solar customers we have, are any of them at the point where we're actually giving them money back for the energy that they're generating?
So they get some reimbursement, and that's where the gray line is right now, because there's not consistency when this was first developed. Initially, like I said, we had the first customer in 2003, and then we had probably 2 more come on. I don't know, I don't have the date right in front of me. And then the 4th customer wasn't until 2015, so there was just a long period of time that there was really nothing. So, but looking at some of the billing that I've looked at, there are some customers that actually have produced a little bit more than what they've used, but for the most part, the majority is they're still pulling from us.
Okay, so you don't foresee any problems with revenue, I mean, as far as decreasing revenue from electric?
No, and that's why we need the ordinance in place, so we have.
Well, you know, it's a good idea that you're doing that, just a statement, because I've noticed in the industry that I'm in, the people that are selling solar panels are moving down in this direction. And I can always tell where they're at because I get calls from Pueblo or Denver. And so it's probably going to be great. I appreciate the fact that you're being proactive.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Other questions?
Yeah, I've had a couple of constituents who have asked about it, and appreciate the staff working this out so that it can be something that can put together.
And I'll be honest, there's not a lot of credit. I mean, considering the cost that goes into installing them, there's not a lot of credit that the customer is going to get back. So I think they need to be aware of.
Right.
Other questions? I have a couple of questions. You know, one thing that comes up is that, you know, right now, I think they can only use 10%. Is that what it is? The credit?
The avoided cost rate, the percentage, I don't know what the percentage is in our ARPA policy, and I'll try to get
I
that.
thought it was 10%, I may be wrong.
That sounds right.
And I was just kind of wondering on it, because this is looking at the future of 2025, when we go back to overlay Guzman, we'll have to watch that to make sure that it doesn't increase over that much, because it could eventually harm our.
Absolutely. We are monitoring on month-by-month basis. I actually have to do reporting to ARPA what the return energy is from the customers, so that is being all considered.
And another question I had is, you know, it says, it's allowing, there's a question there that are not a part of the MOU, and there's to allow consideration for someone who's asking for more than 10 kilowatt hours per month. Is there any reason why we would allow that?
So typically residential is just 10 kilowatts or less. Anything above that is more a commercial, is my understanding. I'm still learning a lot with the solar part, but Residential's typically 10 kilowatts or less.
Because I think it said something about residential as well, so we'll look at that.
Correct.
To make sure.
Correct, we kind of geared the ordinance more at residential, because that's what we've had come in. If commercial should come in, we need to consult with ARPA on that, and,
The other couple of minor questions I have is, of course, it's gonna be interesting because there's gonna be some cost to this because there's special equipment that
yes.
they're gonna be needing. And
Yes.
it could be costly, we just don't know what that would be. And then, of course, there's gonna be, I guess, an additional administrative fee on top of that every month, correct?
Correct. There is, so, answering the first question with, the equipment, the solar meter is a specialized equipment, so it's a little bit more expensive than a regular electric meter. So, the customer is going to be responsible for that. The administration, fee comes in because, our billing actually has to, we've created a spreadsheet to kind of work out the numbers, but there's, the administrative fee is going to be developed based on billing and also what I have to do.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, just one thing. I just wanted to mention that the meters, to be able to do the net metering, have already arrived. So we're glad. So we're prepared. We're just waiting on this ordinance and getting through the process.
Good. Okay. There's no other questions. Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Diego? Yes. Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9, another public hearing items. 9A, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance appropriating certain sums of money out of the revenues of the city of Trinidad, Colorado to defray and meet the liabilities of the city of Trinidad for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023 and ending December 31, 2023. Said ordinance being termed the annual appropriation bill for the 2023 fiscal year in the amount of $66,624,498. Hearing is now open. Ms. Navarette.
Mayor and Council, there have been some significant changes from the first reading to the second. Mostly because Mayor reminded me about land purchase of $1.2 million. So that encompasses a transfer from the general fund to capital improvements fund of $957,000. So most significant increases will be highlighted. You did receive a detail, hopefully with your, on your site, or on your drive, yes, thank you. Detailing the increases. Most significant general fund, an increase of $1.2 million. Again, this is for a transfer of $957,000 to the capital improvements fund for land acquisition. And then an increase of $240,000 in salary and fringe to encompass the 3% cost of living increase that was negotiated with the unions. And finally, the remainder was $41,000, which we threw into contingency. Significant increase in the water fund of $1.4 million. I'm not sure how, but I missed the water tank rehab project when I was plugging in numbers for water department. This particular project is very stringent upon the approval of the water rate increases. We don't get those increases or the water rate study increase suggestion adopted. This project will have to be scaled down, possibly phased. We are hoping for a $750,000 grant from DOLA. That again, that's going to assist this project, but this is one of those projects that's going to be touch and go until we figure out how the funding is going to be supporting that project. Another significant increase is in the landfill fund. I believe the landfill department will be, or the enterprise fund will be coming forward to request increase in tipping fees. We've projected a possible $200,000 increase in revenue. And hopefully that'll afford us the opportunity to purchase a much-needed tandem truck that it's just gone down, they don't have one, and it's a needed piece of equipment. So we've budgeted a $100,000 piece of machinery equipment for the tandem truck in landfill. And then again, capital projects fund, that was increased by $1 million, and that includes landfill acquisition of $1.2 million. That was brought up by the mayor at the work session. There are some other small increases if you would like to discuss them, but that's typically the guts of it.
Okay, questions from council? No questions? Okay. One of the things I was gonna mention is that you were talking about the water tank funding. Is there any additional funding that maybe we can try to find with the FLPA, or was it the federal funding that's out there for infrastructure, anything that might be there, we can keep our eyes open on that?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I know that Mark and Talipa and all of us are always looking for funding, so anything we can find to assist, if we identify something, we will certainly apply for it.
Because, you know, and when Mark brought that forward, that sounded like it's a very critical project that we're gonna have to take on sooner or later, so I think that anything that we can find out through DOLA or something, we'll look into it, so. Okay. Any other questions? Anyone in the audience speaking for or against? Hearing is now closed. Item 9A1, second reading of an ordinance appropriating certain sums of money out of the revenues of the city of Trinidad, Colorado to defray and meet the liabilities of the city of Trinidad for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023 and ending December 31, 2023. Said ordinance being termed the annual appropriation bill for the 2023 fiscal year in the amount of $66,624,498. Entertain a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
Any other questions? Call the vote, please.
Bono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree? Yes. Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 10, council reports. Mr. DeBona, which happened?
I have nothing this week.
Okay. Ms. Riegel?
I have nothing either, but I just wanted to express my holiday greetings to the citizens of Trinidad as well. And most importantly, the people that serve us all year long, you employees are, over and above all the time. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate your service. I probably won't see you till the beginning of 2023, but I want to really express my appreciation. I mean, we couldn't do what we do up here without your assistance. All of you, I mean, you're such a wealth of information, and I see Detective Lay in the back, she's busted it for the last couple of years with Shop with a Cop. And I saw the picture on Crime Watch today. The kids didn't get arrested, but their picture was on Crime Watch. And I was involved more in prior years with that Detective Lay, but that is a fabulous program, and I really appreciate that. But Merry Christmas to staff, not more than the citizens, but I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, I agree with Karen. I think you guys do an outstanding job. Merry Christmas to you guys, and hope we have a good New Year's.
Yeah.
I missed the arts and culture meeting at the beginning of the month, but in reading the minutes, they just are continuing to work through, like they said, all of the projects, and they've been really diligent, so I'm very proud of them. I'm very glad to be home. I like Germany, but I like Trinidad way better. So yeah, and everything you said, it's so true.
Well, good to have you back.
Thanks.
Parks and Rec is still excited about the golf clubs, the minors, the kids. So we had a good meeting last week for the work session. So happy holidays, everybody.
Ms. Williamson?
I have no update, but I agree with Councilwoman Grego's sentiments, and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Likewise, especially, like I said, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas earlier, but staff especially for all the work that you guys do. You guys do a tremendous job, and, you know, keeping the city going, keep it running. Thank you. And I do have some items. Last time I received that letter from that Miss Humphrey from Oregon, I believe. And I did call her back the next day, and I talked to her and was concerned, and I talked to Mr. Ruger about sending a letter to the state historical, because they haven't neglected the Blue Mansion. And I'm not sure if you've sent that off yet, but
We're drafting it right now, but we'll get it out
they're
soon.
going to be drafting a letter for the Blue Mansion, because like I said, they just neglected it, and I think that they need to step up, so anything that we can do to try to push it in that direction, I think it's be good for that we can try to do. We had our leadership meeting last week, and I'll let you cover that a little bit now, okay? Sure. We also had our upcoming retreat later on. We also met, Mr. Ruger and I met with John Romke. He's the new CEO of the Allegiance Mine. Sat down and talked with him, and all they're going, they're still working on trying to make it work. They do have, they do have contracts. The biggest thing is employees. Right now, that's their struggle, is trying to keep employees on the ground and getting more employees. I think that's the big struggle right now. But everything else, I think, is in place. If they could just get those employees, I think it would be great. So, looking at that. Also, last Friday, I attended the open house for the Keep Trinidad Safe. That's that money that for that 1215 program that Trinidad Community Foundation received. That's at 700. They got 250,000, but close to that each year for 2 years. And it really was there were quite a few people that were there. And there was also a couple of guys there they want to establish an Oxford House here in Trinidad, and the Oxford House. And what that is it's a program for people in the area struggling with addictions, and they want to be able to build. They have to have probably different homes, one for male, female, probably adolescents that may be struggling with addictions. And so there might be, so anyway, they're going to try to find maybe an organization or somebody that was willing to donate a house or buy a house really expensively. But anyway, it was very interesting. There was a gentleman there, a young man, who talked about his addiction problem. As we know, addiction is pretty scary. And what he's gone through, and his mother was there. And it was interesting to hear her as well. And the other gentleman was there, was also an addict. But as far as this project goes, that 1215 project, it's moving along very, very well. Actually, I'm trying to think of his name, it's Jeremy Machoni from the Trinidad Youth Club. They're the ones that are utilizing that money, and they're making great progress on it. They are actually having their offices now where Dr. Berry's office is at. They have to keep it separate from the other youth club office, so that's where they're at. So it's very interesting. And it sounds like they're partnering with the other organization, I think, the Trinidad, that's been around for 3 or 4 years now. Marcy.
Oh, yeah, partners against.
Yeah, and I think they're partnering with them some on that as well. On January the 4th, we're having our legislative day. It's just in a couple of weeks from 9:30 to 12 at the Pioneer Room. And just to let you know, we have quite a list of, and I'll read them off to you, people that are going to be speaking. We're going to have Dr. Rhonda Epper from the college. We'll have Renee Martinez from Michael Bennett's office, Senator Bennett's office. Antonio Huerta from Senator Hickenlooper. Kathy Garcia from Laura Bobert's office. Rod Pelton, he's going to be virtual, but he's the state senator. Ty Winter, who's our state representative. Ray Odom, who's our veteran service officer, give us an update on veteran services. Like I said, Jeremy Machoni, he's going to be talking about that program. Kim Lucero from the hospital, give us an update what's happening within the hospital. Tara Marshall is going to give us information about Dole Athletic updates. Jennifer Oliver from the Council of Governments, she's going to be giving it, she's going to be virtual for some reason. We've also invited Mark Sexton from Evergreen to speak, and John Romke, like I said, the new New Elk CEO. We'll also have Heidi Williams from the Attorney General's office. We'll also have Luis Lopez, who's going to give an update from the county. And we're going to give a little bit more time, probably 10 minutes, because all these others will have 5 minutes. But we're going to have Mike Beasley, who is our lobbyist, to give us an idea of what he sees for the new legislative session that's upcoming and the issues that are coming up. And then I'll be speaking last. So that is the entire list of people that are going to be speaking, and I'm not sure if the newspaper, if you want to have this list, if you want to post that, just let the public know.
Running an article tomorrow.
Okay, it's going to have a list of all these people that are going to be speaking. But like I said, we've done this now since 2018, I think is when we started this, and it's been very productive. It's an opportunity for all of us to hear what's going on within their own realms, and also the public, to let the public know that what they're seeing and give them information. So look forward to doing that in a couple of weeks. So hopefully that all the council people will be there as well, because I think it'll be well worth your time. I know it's during the day, but I think it'll be well worth your time. Okay. Last item on there I wanted to mention is this morning, I'm very concerned over the next couple of days with the cold weather. And I called Mr. Ruger and I asked him, I said, is there anything that we could do with the homeless issue? And he was going to look into it, but then we found out that the Lutheran Church,
Zion
Lutheran is going to be doing something. But I didn't know if we would have to try to open up the community center. The big problem was staffing. But the few homeless people that we have around, they need some place to go with this extreme weather that we're having. So I'm glad to hear that the Zion Lutheran is going to be doing something.
It's my church, and on the nights that are just bitterly cold and life-threatening, the fellowship hall is open and it's monitored and it's taken care of.
I guess the pastor is going to be picking up people starting tomorrow, I think.
I don't know about that, but.
At the Chimino Park.
Yeah, from 3:30 to 4, I believe.
We'll be picking up people, taking them,
Yeah.
So, Mr. Ruger.
Okay, so just a couple of things. So it's letter of support night. And I apologize, this is so last minute, this just came across my desk, but the Colorado Byways Association is applying for an O-Edit grant, and they would like a letter of support. What the grant is for is to create a mobile travel app that tourists in Colorado could use, and it will really highlight our region. So it'll have Trinidad amenities and surrounding in the region. So we'd like to issue a letter of support with your consent. We can draft that and have the mayor sign it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So excited for that, and we'll keep you updated on that project too. Then we got news today that the 2023 omnibus bill is expected to be passed by Congress this week, but it includes $1.149 million for our water infrastructure, drinking water infrastructure project. So we'll be getting a lot of money to go help out Gil and Mark with our drinking water supply and be able to put that into good use. So that was really, really good news to get today, and we're excited to see that. And then lastly, as the mayor mentioned, we met on Friday. Councilmember Griego was there as well, and we, for our leadership summit, we had members of the community here, leaders in the community, and really it was an opportunity for the city to get feedback on how we're doing and the perceptions that our community leaders have about our operations. And the discussion was very positive. We talked about things about economic development, infrastructure, parks and rec, our major issues. And the feedback we got, by and large, people are very supportive of what we're doing here at the city and think we're heading in a good direction. So it was time well spent building those connections and getting some good feedback from them. I don't think there's anything super tangible out of the discussion, but it is nice to have that check-in with our partners and make sure that we're doing and meeting their expectations as well.
And there were some actual recommendations that they saw.
There were a few, yeah.
And there were a few, and that was good to hear. Like, I mentioned at the onset of the meeting that we wanted to hear If it was good, if it was bad, you know, it was a reality check for us, because when we have a retreat, we'll be able to take some of this information moving forward, so. Karen, did you have anything that you wanna
No.
bring forward about, how did you feel about the meeting?
I thought it was productive.
Mr. Downs?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I just have one thing to report on tonight, and that is to let you and everybody know, or kind of remind you that effective January 1st of 2023, House Bill 21-1162 takes effect, which is the 10-cent per bag fee. And that is, you know, just right around the corner, and that is going to be happening. I don't think, I think that's kind of been forgotten about a little bit. That is, I don't think a lot of people are remembering that that is going to happen on January 1st of 2023. The 10-cent bag fee is for both plastic bags and also paper bags, what they call recycled paper bags. This is in anticipation of, in 2024, a ban on what are called single-use plastic bags. So they will no longer be available. It does say in the legislation that if a store already has an inventory of the bags, they can continue to use them, but it will be 10 cents for a year until the ban in 2024. The legislation does say that, and this is a little bit confusing, but and I'm reading from this, although HB 21-1162 requires a bag fee of at least 10 cents per bag, municipalities can elect to pass an ordinance increasing the fee. The local government where the store is located will receive 60% of the fee, and 40% of the fee is kept by the store. Now, I think that's it's for the breakdown of the fee, whether or not that is increased, it sounds like to me. Municipalities are permitted to use the fee revenue for, one, administrative and enforcement costs incurred because of the bag fee, and two, any recycling, composting, or other waste diversion programs. It also does say that stores are directed to start remitting the local government's portion of the fee revenue on a quarterly basis starting April 1st of 2024. The gap between the fee start date of January 1st, 2023 and the fee remission date of April 1st of 2024 is the result of a drafting error. Municipalities can, however, consider collaborating with local businesses to allow businesses to start remitting the fee in 2023 rather than waiting until 2024. So I hope you got all that. There were a number of considerations from that, but my main purpose in saying that was to remind you that the bag fee will begin January 1st. But that's all I have.
Okay.
Is that clear to everybody?
It's very clear as mud.
That's right.
Only else I want to mention, like I said, got this the other day, this is the State House report for 2023. And there's some legislative preview, anticipated legislation. And I think that's stuff that probably Mike Beasley is going to cover, because there's a little bit of everything in there. So that's why I say I think it'd be good for all of council to be there so that we can kind of get an idea. I need to call him and go over some of the stuff with him to see what he's going to talk about. Because there are several items, there's a couple of them that he doesn't necessarily have to talk about, but I think it's necessary that we know what's upcoming. And unfortunately, every year there's over 500 bills that are introduced. How many are passed? We don't know, and a lot of them are pushed through the last 2 weeks of the legislative session. So just don't know what's going on. Motion to adjourn. So move. Second. Call roll.
Stefano?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Oglesby?
Yes.
Shu?
Yep.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes.
Yippee.